What's up YouTube? Capital G here, showing you guys the Divine God Sylvan deck that I was playing against when I was first testing off the Harambe deck. If you guys didn't see that replay, it will definitely be in the description of this video. So this deck honestly isn't all that different than what you might expect Sylvans to look like, but what obviously makes it different is the fact that you main deck Obelisk the Tormentor and this card called True Name, which obviously helps you summon it straight from the deck. That's one of the good things about this card, is the fact that you don't ever have to worry about, you know, normal summoning it, which nobody wants to do. And Obelisk is a card that if you summon it from the graveyard, it's pretty pointless because it does destroy itself during the end phase. Now, if you've played Sylvans, I don't even mean like back in, you know, like the Zell days or when they had 3 soul charge. I mean, even recently, the deck can do a whole lot of battle damage extremely quickly. A lot of that has to do with the fact that, you know, like Lone Fire Blossom is at 3, Miracle Fertilizer is at 3. It's really easy to get Lone Fire Blossom because of things like, you know, Super Solar Nutrient. You can pretty much pull Lone Fire Blossom straight from the deck. And if you're playing Symbol of Heritage, then you can just get it, you know, you can get your Lone Fire Blossom and activate it 3-4 times in one turn. It's actually pretty ridiculous. But this deck does a whole lot of damage, and being able to run something like Obelisk just gives you a 4,000 beater, which sometimes you can use this effect, you're probably not. It's kind of like icing on the cake. You have to remember that in a normal duel, I mean, 4,000 is half of your opponent's life points. So if you swing with this and it hits them directly, you're probably going to win that turn. Now, the thing about True Name is it's a card that actually has a lot of natural synergy with Sylvans. It's kind of gimmicky. See, the thing about it is it lets you excavate the top card of your deck. And if you, well, you have to declare one card name and then you excavate the top card of your deck. And if it is the declared card, you get the choice to either add that card to your hand or send it to the graveyard. And then you get to special a divine monster from your deck. The only one that really makes sense, to be honest, is Obelisk, because like the Winged Dragon of Ra is just like, no, you wouldn't want to do that. And then you know, like Cypher revolves around you having a whole bunch of cards in your hand. So like Obelisk is just a 4, it's just a straight up 4K beater. It's the simplest, it makes the most sense. But what's cool about this card is you obviously want to use it with Sylvan Charity or maybe Mount Sylvania, where you know what the hell is on top of your deck. So you're not gonna really miss with True Name most of the time because you're going to stack your deck. But what's really good about this is you don't have to just use it with Sylvan monsters. Obviously, it can trigger things like Peacekeeper, and you know, you can use that to get like your Copy Plant back, or you can use that to get like your Lone Fire Blossom, which again gets you pretty much anything in your deck. But what's cool is you can literally just stack like, you know, maybe a Soul Charge on top of your deck from like Sylvan Charity, and then you can use True Name and you can use that to get to your Soul Charge, so you don't have to wait until next turn. Like, you know, important cards like Miracle Fertilizer, you can just use, like, you can get to them right away, and then you get the benefit of being able to get the Obelisk at the very same time. So you don't just necessarily have to excavate the card and keep it in the graveyard. You can excavate, you know, Miracle Fertilizer and then add it to your hand, get your Obelisk, and then still be able to, you know, like special summon off of Miracle Fertilizer during that turn. Now, this build is, obviously, it's heavy damage focused. There's not really going to be any, you know, traps because it is Sylvans. But this build is little, like it leans towards being able to go for like Ultimaya a lot more often, which Ultimaya is actually really easy to pull off in Sylvans in general, just because you have Copy Plant. Copy Plant can copy the level of something like Sage Coil or Hermitry, and getting the Copy Plant, it goes without saying, is really easy in this deck. Obviously, Lone Fire Blossom summons the entire deck, but then you also have other cards like you can pull it straight from the deck with 1-for-1. You can get it from the graveyard with Miracle Fertilizer, Soul Charge, or Peacekeeper. And you can also summon it straight from the deck with Cherub's Route. So getting to this card is really not that difficult. And I'm just a real big fan of Ultimaya, mainly because it lets you go into Crystal Wing without having to go through, you know, all of the hoops and whatnot of, you know, having to synchro summon twice. Like, it's just like make a copy of Ultimaya, you know, set a random card. Most of the cards you play are regular, you know, spells, so you can just set them and then activate them later in the turn, and then you get yourself a free copy of, you know, like a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Or if you're going to unload your hand and maybe you want to lock your opponent out, you can go for like Void Ogre Dragon. This deck is really, like, if you're not trying to go for like an OTK or something like that, I think this deck is really more built around kind of building like super big boards and trying to make sure that your opponent can't crack them. Now, there are a couple of cards that you could throw in here to fit your playstyle. Actually, I'll throw in one more. Just a couple of cards that I threw into the side deck that or the side deck that I thought that, you know, people who wanted to maybe test this deck out that I would recommend. Like, for instance, you could take out the Upstart Goblin and you could throw in maybe a Vanity's Emptiness or a Regeki, because when you get a really big board, like let's just say you get Felgrand, Ultimaya, and Crystal Wing. With Vanity's Emptiness, that's going to be near, and like it's going to be near impossible to crack that, because you've got Felgrand, which can negate effects, you've got Crystal Wing that can negate effects, and your opponent's not going to be able to special summon. Or you could maybe take Felgrand out of the extra deck and you could do something like Titanic Galaxy, which would give you another different level of protection, where maybe you could go for you know, like Titanic Galaxy plus a Crystal Wing plus maybe like a Vanity's Emptiness, and that would be a really good that would be hard to stop too. But if you don't want to go this route, like if you need some spell and trap negation but you don't want to go for Titanic Galaxy, obviously Vodo Dragon is an option too. You can bring this out along with Bills, Crystal Wing, all of these dragons out. You can bring it with Ultimaya. This is another deck that can also summon this guy right here, Bishbalkin. Card's a little gimmicky. I mean, it can get to like 8,000 plus attack really easily, so it's not the hardest thing in the world to summon. I mean, you pretty much summon it the same way that you summon Ultimaya, but it is something worth noting. Like if your opponent is playing like an Exceed deck and they only have one monster on the field, you can summon this guy, you can instantly activate his effects, you can load up the field with like 4 tokens on each side, and then they're pretty much locked out of doing anything. And then maybe you wait until, if you're playing like Regeki, let's say you wanted to take out Upstart Goblin and add a copy of Regeki instead of like Vanities, you can wait until you Regeki them and then you just basically kill them with one, you know, huge attack or something like that. Overall, this deck is actually not that bad, you know what I mean? Sylvans actually still have a lot of speed and power, and for the most part, this is still just this is still kind of not that different than most Sylvan decks. It's just you've got a few cards that open up different plays, you know. Like, don't look at something like Obelisk and True Name and think, oh, it doesn't have any synergy, because again, True Name could be used in this deck even if it didn't summon Obelisk. Now the only thing is, I will just say straightforward, if you do draw Obelisk, it does kind of suck, because you don't have, you're never going to normal summon this damn thing, and you really don't have a way of getting it out of your hand except 1-for-1. 1-for-1 is pretty much the only thing in your, like, in this entire deck that can get out of your hand. You don't play Twin Twist or anything like that, although you could definitely look into maybe playing like a copy of like Twin Twister. There's a couple of maybe tech spots that you could definitely throw some stuff in. So just wanted to show people this deck because they were like, yo, Cap, that looks like a pretty interesting deck, and I will be messing around with this deck on my stream. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching as always. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, what the heck are you waiting for?